Have you ever felt like you're working harder than ever but just running in place? It's super frustrating, right? And honestly, it's way more common than you'd think. So in this explainer, we're going to break down a set of principles drawn from real-world experience designed to take you from stuck to, well, unstoppable. Let's dive in. And this is where the journey begins for so many of us. This quote right here from our source material, it just perfectly nails that feeling of being trapped. You can almost see it, can't you? It's like you're on a treadmill. You're working, you're sweating, but you're not going anywhere. This is the starting line, though. This is the place where real change can happen. But you gotta have the right map to find a new path. And this is where we want to go. This slide just lays it out so clearly. Look, the goal isn't just to work harder. It's about completely changing the quality of your effort. We're talking about going from being just busy and totally exhausted to being focused, energized, and actually making progress. So the big question is, how do we make that leap? Well, the framework we're digging into breaks it all down into 3 core pillars. Okay, pillar 1. Now, it's so tempting to just jump right into doing stuff, right? But this first pillar says, hold on. Real lasting change, that starts on the inside. Before you can change your results out there, you have to get your mindset right and get crystal clear on where you're actually trying to go. This is the foundation, and without it, everything else just crumbles. And that brings us to this monster of a question. The key takeaway here is just so important. Clarity beats hustle. Every single time. The author of our source material admits they spent years just being busy, going nowhere, all because they didn't have a direction. The fix wasn't more work, it was getting real and answering this one question, but in painful detail. We're not talking about a vague, I want to be happy. No, what does your day actually look like? What's your income? What's your health like? That kind of specificity, that is the engine that drives real action. Okay, check this out. 10%. This number represents one of the most powerful commitments you can possibly make. The thinking here is that the best return on investment you will ever get is from investing in yourself, your skills, your knowledge, your network. The rule is simple, but it's tough. Make it a non-negotiable. At least 10% of what you earn goes right back into your own development. It's a game changer. You know, this is such a critical distinction to make. You can't just stare in the mirror and tell yourself you're capable and expect to believe it. Real, deep down self-belief, it's not an affirmation, it's evidence. It's built brick by brick. You build it by actually doing hard things, by finishing challenges, by collecting those small wins. And all that evidence, that becomes the fuel that lets you take on even bigger stuff. It's not about wishing for confidence, it's about earning it, one action at a time. All right, so once you've got that solid foundation, that inner game sorted out, we move on to pillar 2, control your engine. I love that name because you need fuel for this journey, right? And this is all about mastering the practical, real-world resources to make it happen. And here it is, the first rule of control. You absolutely cannot improve what you don't measure. It's that simple. Without data, you're just guessing. You're just wandering around in the dark, hoping you're going the right way. But the second you start tracking the important stuff, you go from guessing to strategizing. You stop hoping and you start climbing based on cold, hard reality. And this is a perfect, almost painful example of what happens when you actually measure. The author felt like they were doing a pretty good job, saving maybe 20% of their income. But when they crunched the numbers, the data told a completely different story. And frankly, it was a shock. The reality? Just 7%. Think about that for a second. That's the kind of wake-up call that forces you to change. Your feelings can trick you, but the numbers, they never lie. Now, this is a really powerful idea. It's about reframing how you think about an emergency fund. Forget emergency fund. Call it your freedom fund. I mean, think about it. The stress of living paycheck to paycheck forces you into these short-term, reactive decisions. But this fund, this buffer, it lifts that weight off your shoulders. It gives you the power to walk away from a bad job, to negotiate for what you're worth, or to take a smart risk on a new idea. Lean beats fancy. It's a simple principle, but so important. So many of us, we get weighed down with expensive stuff that looks like success before we've actually achieved success. But every single dollar you save instead of spend, that's another dollar you can invest in what actually moves the needle. It's about tipping the scales in your favor so you have the resources ready to jump on real opportunities when they show up. Okay, so let's recap. You've built your foundation, right? You've got your engine under control. Now for the final piece of the puzzle, pillar 3, take smart action. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's about taking all that internal work, all those resources, and applying them effectively out there in the real world. Okay, now pay close attention to the order of these steps because it's everything. So many of us start at step 3. We have a great idea, we build a solution, and then we try to convince people they want it. The Unstoppable approach, it's the complete opposite. You start by just listening, obsessively. You find a real pain point, whether it's your boss struggling with a spreadsheet or a customer who needs something specific, and then, only then, do you build the solution. When you do it this way, success is practically baked in from the start. I love this quote. Calculated risks are how you actually grow. Safe keeps you exactly where you are. Every single major breakthrough in your life or career is going to require stepping outside your comfort zone. But, and this is a huge but, there's a world of difference between a calculated risk and a reckless gamble. A calculated risk means you've done the work, you understand the worst-case scenario, and the potential upside is just too good to ignore. Safe feels good, for a while. But comfort is the enemy of growth. Setting the right kind of goals is a total art form, and this visual nails the difference between two types: fantasy goals and stretch goals. A fantasy goal is like, I made 50 grand last year, so this year I'll make $1 million. It's disconnected from reality, and it just sets you up for disappointment, which makes you want to quit. A stretch goal, on the other hand, is ambitious. It forces you to grow, but it's still achievable. It allows you to build momentum by actually hitting your targets. That's how you create sustainable progress. This is one of those truths you just have to accept. You can always find a way to make more money, but you can never, ever make more time. So real productivity isn't about cramming more stuff into your day. It's about doing what truly matters and being absolutely ruthless about cutting out everything else. It means saying no to good things so you have the time and energy for the great things. You have to guard your time like it's the most precious thing you own, because it is. Okay, so we've walked through the 3 pillars of this whole framework: foundation, control, and action. But here's the thing. Knowing all this stuff is useless if you don't do anything with it. So let's bring it all home and talk about putting it into action. And here it is, the whole system in one place. The 3 pillars of unstoppable growth. You build your foundation, that's your mindset and clarity, which gives you direction. You control your engine, your finances, which gives you the fuel. And then you take smart action, that's intelligent execution, which is how you actually move forward. See how they all connect? They're not just random ideas, they're an interconnected system for real sustainable growth. And that brings us to the final and honestly the most important step. Information is not transformation. Knowing this stuff changes nothing. The only thing that creates real change in your life is action. So look back at everything we just covered. What is the one single principle you can commit to applying starting this week? Your future isn't decided by what you know, it's decided by what you do. Choose wisely.